I've really focused on that time of building relationships with people across multiple industries. And if I didn't spend the time doing that, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now.
Welcome to Price Discovery, Money and Mindset. Go under the hood with Jordan Rodriguez, a certified financial planning professional and certified exit planning advisor, as he explores the art of balancing wealth with personal fulfillment. We'll hear strategies and stories from industry experts, business owners, and thought leaders about navigating the complexities of high net worth families and businesses. Without further ado, here's Jordan Rodriguez.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a special in-person edition of Price Discovery, Money and Mindset with Kevin Joseph, a name you may remember from last season. We discussed a number of topics, most importantly, his departure from the real estate investment banking world into the acquisition world. He most recently closed on the acquisition of Apollo American, an aerospace and defense company. We talk about his search process, some of the nitty-gritty details behind the acquisition logistics, and lessons learned along the way. I really hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Price Discovery, Money and Mindset. We have Kevin Joseph, Apollo American, joining us live in studio. First, actually two firsts. First live in studio recording, and first two-time repeat guest. Kevin was with us last season. I'm sure you remember. It's going to be fun to have him back today because completely different context. I would love, Kevin, if you could bring us up to speed. What have you been up to over the past year?
Sure.
Talk about.
So, well, first things first. Also, first that the host and the guest are wearing the exact same polo.
I can't tell you how nice it is when I woke up this morning knowing that I didn't need to think about what I was going to wear because I had this picked out. Apollo American all day, baby.
Oh, that's funny. Lululemon knows what they're doing. So, since last time, I was in the real estate business, real estate M&A, kind of investment banking side, and then, always wanted to, I was a partner there, had partners, phenomenal time, great people, great firm. Always wanted to build something kind of that on my own, right? Not really on my own, but that was mine. And at the end of the day, can create value from it. Real estate's fantastic. Love real estate. Working on deal to deal is fun. It's exhilarating. But at the end of the day in real estate, to have something, to have a nest egg at the end, you got to own real estate.
Sure.
And, that wasn't our model where I was before. So I wanted to get into something that I can build. And at the end of the day, if I want to sell it, I can. And if I don't want to sell it, I don't have to. And we can get into it. But the goal is not to sell it.
Sure.
Kind of have a lifestyle business. But now I'm in aerospace and defense manufacturing. So as a West Sider, I worked east, and then I went farther east.
We'll get you to move to the east side at some point. I know you're a West Sider.
Yeah. So I'm in Menor. But it's such a fun industry. I was underwriting and working with manufacturing companies when I was in the real estate business. And always something that caught my eye, always something that I enjoyed working on, and kind of got to see, what a P&L or a balance sheet should look like in the manufacturing space. So I kind of knew what I was looking for, and I knew the potential in the industry. So it's really exciting. There was a lot going on in my life when I bought the business.
We'll touch on it.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. But I'm excited where I'm at. I mean, I have no regrets. I'm so happy that I worked where I worked before. Phenomenal people, and now I'm working with another group of phenomenal people, and just a different industry and different challenges.
Yeah, I mean, you were alluding to it. You had a really good setup. It was a fantastic company. I know a lot of the people there, and you were really good at what you did. It's a big risk to go out on your own, so those internal and external motivators have to be strong. Building something that's a draw that I see, a common theme across business owners. Where do you think that drive comes from within you? You do come from an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's probably where it comes from. My dad has an entrepreneurial background. My uncle especially has an entrepreneurial background. Started an acquired an HVAC company, but started as a salesman, worked his way all the way up. My dad was in the finance business, and then branched off with a very good friend of his, and they've kind of built a really nice business together as well. But you always hear people ask, are you born with the entrepreneurial spirit, or do you learn it? I don't know the answer to that.
Sure.
I think exactly. I think it has to do with your surroundings, right? I mean, I look at you. I mean, your business is entrepreneurial. You're growing your own book. You have, it's the same concept. But I think if you have the personality to want to talk to people, which
I don't think you
to
do.
my wife's demise, I do. But wanting to talk to people, wanting to work with people, wanting to learn, like how do you make this better? Why do you do it this way? No matter what industry it is, I think that's what entrepreneurship is to me. It's I want to learn this industry.
Yeah.
Because again, I am no expert in manufacturing. I'll be the first to admit. I know, what I don't know. My dad would tell you the opposite. My dad would say that he's forgotten things that I haven't even learned yet. But it's about the people. It's about the relationships, and everyone says, "Oh, we're relationship based. We're this, we're that." But I really think entrepreneurship is relationships. I've spent the last
That's a good point.
10 years out of college, I think now. 12 years, no, yeah, 10 years. And I've really focused on that time of building relationships with people across multiple industries. And if I didn't spend the time doing that, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now. It was the Weber Wood guys that, taught me how to work on deal flow. It was IBM that trained me and polished me right out of school. It was all the relationships I made through golf, through dinners, through happy hours, whatever it may be, that led me to be in a position where I have the relationships to get an introduction here, get an introduction there, or need help with this, or need strategy on this.
You always have been a great dot connector. Across the different enterprises that you've been involved with. I think that's a skill that will only continue to serve you now that you own your own company.
No.
I'm excited to talk about the search process.
Sure.
A lot of moving parts involved, but I guess you touched on it a little bit. Why the aerospace manufacturing vertical specifically? And was that a criteria that you had, or was it just that was kind of an end result?
So that was not my first intention. So my first intention was manufacturing. And I did my search. I was looking around, and I've talked with several people. And can I back up for a sec? So let me go right. Yeah, let me go into the process. So my process of acquiring a business probably started in 2023. So, and it wasn't a dedicated process. It was, if I come across something, I'll explore it. And, my advice to people that are looking to acquire a company, it's always easier to buy a business when you have a job and you enjoy your job and you're doing something. You don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to quit what you're doing and just go full on looking for a business.
Sure.
That's just my philosophy. But so I was really fortunate to be in the position where I could I could wait for the right deal. I didn't have to say, oh, I got to jump on this because I want to buy it. I got to own something.
You have flexibility.
I had flexibility, and I wanted the right deal, the one that made sense. So I started the search, in 2023. In the middle of 2023, I got more serious. So
So how were you searching during that first phase? Was it literally, were you sending cold emails, or what was the search logistics?
So the beginning aspect of the search was, what do I want to own and where? So most people know this. I am a mama's boy, so I can't go too far from my mother. But I wanted to be in Cleveland. I wanted to be able to drive to it, and I wanted to be an operator. I didn't want to own a company and be an absentee.
Physically present.
Yes, I didn't want to be an absentee owner. So I didn't want to own something in Michigan or down in Columbus where I was going to be there once or twice a week. That wasn't going to work. I wanted to go all in. So what I did was, middle of 23, I'm identifying, okay, where do I want to be? What type of business do I want? What can I afford? How big can it be? How small should it be, etc. And keep in mind, I didn't know. I've never bought a business before, so I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know what mistakes I was about to make, and I made a lot. Towards the end of 2023, I narrowed it down. I'm like, okay, I want manufacturing. I want it in the Cleveland, Northeast Ohio area. And what I did was, I first started emailing people. I'm like, that no one would respond to my email. Hey, I want to buy your business. Maybe one or two guys responded. I'm like, this isn't working. So what I did next was how this worked. This was the strategy that worked. What I did next was I looked online at the company's website. And if the company's website was just garbage and it just had not been updated, I knew that private equity didn't buy it, and I knew that it was probably an older owner who wasn't really investing back into his business. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. It's a website, but you'd be surprised. And my hypothesis proved to be correct. So what I did was I identified these people that had bad websites, and I wrote them handwritten letters. So I probably wrote 100 handwritten letters. And
Do you have good handwriting? I don't get.
nah, it's okay.
Okay.
I can get neat if I have
Gotcha.
to. And so I probably wrote 100 handwritten letters, and maybe 4 or 5 people responded.
Okay.
But only one person needs to respond.
Exactly.
So, I had
What
a
were you
few.
saying in these letters? Was it an introduction? Was it I want?
That's a great question. So I had probably, of the 100 letters I wrote, and there's probably more than 100, but around there, I had a bunch of iterations of the letters. So I'd first start off with some like basic, oh no, this is who I am. I want to buy your business, blah, 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 blah. And then I mean, for the viewers that are in Cleveland, they're going to understand this. For the viewers outside of Cleveland, they're not. I really laid into like the high school, grade school thing because in like Northeast Ohio.
Nobody went to college. Right? So
I know.
You asked where you went to school.
Correct.
That's not what people mean.
So I really like would soften the blow with, hey, I grew up in the area. I'm a West Sider. If I was looking at like a West Side company, I grew up in, the Rocky River, Fairview Park area. I went to St. Ignatius, St. Angela, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd get some hits back. Oh, yeah, I know Ignatius, or I went to Ed's, or this or that. And all of a sudden you have some rapport. And sometimes it's, hey, really appreciate it. My kid's in the business. I think I'm going to give it to him. Or, hey, no interest. Or, hey, thanks for your interest, but not right now. Let's regroup in 2-3 years, which is great. And then I came across this company on the east side in Menor. I wrote the guy a letter and, got in touch with him. It ended up where he had a business broker. On the sell side.
And when was this? Just to give us.
So we're now talking beginning of 2024.
Okay.
Is when this process started. So he responded to me, and the business broker he wanted to go through the business broker, which is fine. He had hired him, and the business broker.
And you were on your own at this point. You didn't have the professional team.
Correct.
Built out.
And I'd love to talk about that.
Sure.
But we'll get to that. So the business broker reaches out to me through the seller, and it's like, hey, yeah, he'd love to talk with you. He's really interested. And it was it was perfect. And when I met this guy, I'm like, I know that this is going to be it. One, it was a beautiful building. Real estate guy. I drove up to the building. I'm like,
It does have really nice curve.
It's a beautiful building. It was clean. And when I met the guy, his name's Al Sandy. It was perfect. He was an older guy, and I could tell he didn't really have a succession plan, and he wanted to, move on.
Sure.
And this process took a very long time. It took probably a year and a half to get done.
Yeah.
But I'll stop there and let you interject. But it took me probably a year to find the company, and then it took me a year and a half to close the deal.
So yeah, I mean, I've got a million questions.
Sure.
So the letter that you wrote him was probably going to be some iteration of the letters that you wrote to a number of different people. What was the first step after you were introduced to him by the business broker? Like, how much of this was dating, getting to know one another from a personality standpoint before you started talking numbers?
So, I think manufacturing is different than a lot of other industries. I think manufacturing especially is relationships, especially in the Midwest, right? Maybe on the coast it's a little different, but manufacturing is all relationships. I mean, half the time the controller has been there for 25 years and is the cousin of the owner or whatever. Right, so there's a lot of family dynamic, so relationship's important. So after our first meeting I went there, I sat down with him. It's, hey, here's what I do, here's what I'm looking for, and maybe I can help you accomplish what you're looking to accomplish. And there was no numbers discussed, there was no sale price discussed. It was just because I only know what I know from the website, and I needed to understand, what do you actually do here? Are you even profitable? What is the process here? And even that wasn't in the first meeting. The first meeting was, here's who Kevin Joseph is, who are you, tell me about the business, etc. And that meeting maybe was an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Was it just you two, or was the broker involved?
The first meeting, the broker was there, and then I think the first meeting I either went by myself or I had brought a friend of mine who is in the business, who's currently helping me, but he's in the manufacturing business. He reps a lot of different firms, and he's fantastic. So, but he was in, I don't know if he was in the first, I think he was in the first, and then he was in other subsequent meetings. Because again, I know what I don't know, so I had to bring him in. His name's Bill. I had to bring Bill in, and he gave me a lot of good advice.
So you had this first meeting, things go well, obviously. It's the kind of a natural fit. You guys are feeling each other out. I think each one of you decided that the person across the table is a good person, and wanted to schedule the next meeting. How long passed between meeting 1 and meeting 2, and what was like the content of meeting number 2? Did it get more serious at that point?
It did. So after meeting 1, it's okay. We know each other. We've met each other. The business broker was there, and then after meeting 2, or at meeting 2, that's when we got more into kind of the nitty gritty. So in between 1 and 2, I signed an NDA. We really got into the weeds of some things via email, and then again with manufacturing. Most people that owned or want to transition out of manufacturing are older. They don't want to negotiate on it via email or even by phone for that matter. The way you get a manufacturing deal done, again, in my experience, you got to show up. You got to be there. You got to look the guy in the eye.
The demographics are there. Like, we all know the great wealth transition and affects businesses and pretty much any other asset. The people who are passing those assets on to the next generation are in their 70s largely, and there are certain methods of communication that people in their 70s prefer.
Yes.
It's kind of a generalization, but it's kind of true.
Yeah. So it's spot on. So we start getting into the numbers. We start talking about some things. He shares his financials with me finally, and that's what I did. I mean, I can underwrite financials. I can look at financials, and I'm looking for, and I can grow a business. So I'm looking for ways I can, low hanging fruit. I hate to use cliche low hanging fruit. But that's what it was. I mean, I looked at this and okay, I see low-hanging fruit here. I see opportunity to, make things more efficient, get rid of inefficiencies, and to really grow the business. And what it was, Jordan, is again, I talk about your classic Cleveland story. And this is a generic, saying, but, the guy's got his Browns tickets. He makes just enough money to be comfortable. He doesn't really want to risk growing and the pains of that. And he's just happy as he was. So to me, that's, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity to grow. And after looking at those financials, as soon as I got them, I'm like, oh my gosh, they have not spent $1 on sales and marketing. They've done nothing to grow their business externally from their current customer base. They did a great job growing. I think Al and his son Justin, who's currently still with me, they tripled the size of the business from when they bought it in, I want to say they bought it in 2007.
Okay.
So they did a great job growing it internally with existing relationships, and they were good at that, and they knew they were good at that. But they wanted someone like me to come in and say, okay, we did the internal thing, help us grow externally. Sure. So that's where I add my value. That's where my friend Bill adds his value. And that's where we're kind of taking this company. That's the next phase of this company.
So at that point, after you saw the financials and everything and started to parse through that, at that point, did you want to buy that business? Were you fully on board, or were there more meetings that needed to take place before you had the conviction that this is, because there's plenty of negotiating. Both parties have to agree to terms. But at that point, what you just described, were you like, okay, Apollo's what I want to go after?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I knew that, again, when I pulled to the, I kind of like, when I see something and I know it's going to work, I kind of just go all in. When I saw the, well, yeah, I'm telling you, when I pulled into the parking lot and saw the building, I'm like, I'm gonna buy it. So
Okay.
I knew it, and what was the icing on the cake, which really made me like, okay, this is how I know I'm gonna buy it, is when I got there and I met Justin Sandy, Al's son, who had basically been running the business for the past 8 to 10 years, because Al was, kind of in and out, which is you expect when he's enjoying his later years of his career. When I met Justin. And I met the plant manager, Suad. Al had a great operations team.
That's huge.
So it was. I was not going to buy a company that was not operationally sound, because that's not my skill set. But granted, I can learn it relatively quickly. I hope. I mean, I've been there 4 or 5 months. I think I figured it out. But I did not want to buy a company that was operationally totally messed up, and I had to fix that and then go do a sales play. I wanted to find a company that had that operational wherewithal, the knowledge, the expertise, and then I can go and grow on top of that and make some minor adjustments operationally, not major ones.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of business owners listen to this podcast, and I work with a lot of business owners, and just to echo what you just said, having an operational team in place makes your business transferable. Yeah. There's this phenomenon that also always happens. It's owner-centric businesses. When if you take the owner away, you take essentially the business away. It's not a business, and you can't transfer it to a third party. And having that team built out obviously made it appealing to you. Now there's a year and a half still where negotiating was happening and a bunch of things were in play. At what point, and we'll talk about individual items, but at what point did you feel the need to bring on some sort of professional support, either a business broker, some legal representation?
Legal, yes.
Okay. So talk me through the professional team.
So high level, the deal took a year and a half, as I mentioned. We had a deal, we didn't have a deal. We had a deal, we didn't have a deal, like 4 times.
That was a fun time for you. It was a fun time for me. I loved answering the phone
I know.
during that period because you were just you were high, you were low.
Yes. So can we get controversial on this podcast?
Of course.
Okay. So I am not a fan of business brokers.
Okay.
I think that I have met one business broker in my life that knows what they're doing, and his name is Sean. Shameless plug with Top Cat. I won't.
Love Sean. Yes, just very nice job.
So, the business broker that worked on this deal, he was a great guy. He made the introduction. He was in the first couple meetings, and then I talked with the seller. I'm like, I don't know what the business broker. What, in my opinion, what the business broker should do, Jordan, is they should work. If it's a seller's business broker, they should work with the seller to help the seller understand this is a good deal, this is not a good deal, and help push the deal across the finish line. I think 99% of business owners do not do that. They want, they make an introduction and think their job is done. A good business broker pushes the deal all the way across the finish line. And I knew, and I think Al knew that that wasn't going to happen. So I saw the business broker for 2 or 3 meetings, and then Al and I just went one-on-one, and the business broker, he didn't come to another meeting for a year and a half.
Sure. And I do know, just to qualify, I do know some other good business brokers, and largely what I found the successful ones, the ones that have a lot of business and generate a lot of referrals, they're the ones who aren't afraid to be attached to you as a business owner when you have no designs of selling your company, or at least selling your company anytime soon. You just have being in the relationship business. They're a trusted advisor. They're somebody who can give you some really useful knowledge and data, and they'll grab lunch with you. They'll answer your emails. They'll play golf with you, maybe for years, and then you never sell your business. But when it does come time, you have that trusted person in your circle who's just been a bastion of information.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not a transaction. It is a transaction, but it's not a transaction in the sense that they can come in when the ball's already on the 1-yard line and get it across the goal line. That's just really not how it works, at least for successful business brokers. And it seems like you and Al kind of echoed that same sentiment.
We knew. I mean, Al was a deal maker. I was a deal maker. But even on top of that, like I look at a guy like Sean, who's my buddy. He comes from a banking background. Sean was a banker for the longest time.
Value proposition.
So he knew how to structure, how to finance the deal, how to give advice on that, and say, hey, this is a good deal, this is not a good deal, etc. I think depending on the size of the business that you're acquiring, I don't think professional from a broker perspective is necessary at all. I mean, again, but that's coming from me, who had a background in negotiating deals, who had a background in underwriting companies. So, I'm not the biggest fan of business brokers, but there are some very good ones out there. I can count them maybe on one hand.
When did you bring legal in?
I brought legal in when I submitted my LOI.
Okay.
So, but again, my legal was fantastic. I used Kelfi, Brent Pietrofice, fantastic. And I think Brent would tell you this, and I'll tell you this. On a deal the size that I was working on, I probably went a little overkill on legal. But that's a mistake I made. I made a lot of mistakes. There's a lot I don't know.
Business, though, and you always, it's nice to have support early and often. If you're overpaid for it a little bit, you're not going to kick yourself at the end of the day.
Correct. But but it was too much. If I was going to buy another company, I would absolutely rely on Brent and his team. But it needs to be more of a handshake, Al or whoever owner. Here's what I want to do. Here's what we're doing. Let's figure this out. When I started this with my legal, it was like, okay, we're sending him documents of diligence requests and this and that. He's like, dude, I do this on Excel, Kevin. I don't know. I have Excel documents. Like, I don't know what you're asking for. and that's what the seller's saying.
So we had to redo the financials.
I had to do, my legal had to do a lot of the deal making, which didn't need to be that way. If I did this again, it would be, okay, I submit an LOI, and then, I'd say once we get to the point where we need to bring in legal to really look at, what needs to be looked at from a liability perspective, that's when you rely on legal. But I had to rely on them a little more because, and Brent knew this, it was my first deal.
Yeah.
So he added a lot of value because I didn't know what I didn't know. I keep saying that, but it's true. He showed me, hey, Kevin, here's what you need to focus on. Here's what you don't need to focus on. And we got a little overboard. And don't believe me, the seller let us know we got overboard. It's like, what are you guys doing? Why are you asking me for all this stuff? Just, this is it. This is all I have. Make a decision. And it forced us to make a decision.
Well, so once you made the decision, during the deal-making process, you guys went back and forth a few times. Deal was live, deal was dead, deal was back live. What were some of the terms that you guys were either disagreeing on or miscommunicating about?
So, great question. So, purchase price, obviously.
Sure.
Sellers always think their business is worth more than it is.
But you can't call somebody's baby ugly.
Correct. But at the same time, I wanted to be fair. Because I'm in a position where I don't need to buy this company, but I'm not going to lowball the guy. So I want it to be a fair deal where he makes out and I make out. So we originally started with the original structure of the deal that I tried to get was I wanted him to seller finance it. So I wanted it to be seller finance. I wanted to buy the business and the real estate. Put the real estate in a separate LLC and have the business, in an operating company. And that's what we were negotiating on. And then his number ended up going way too high, and I was, too far off from his number. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. And he didn't want to seller finance. He's like, I'm not doing seller financing. He's like, I'm towards the end of my career. I want out. I want my money. I don't want to seller finance. So that was kind of a, kick in the butt, but it is what it is. So the next iteration. So then the deal's like, okay, now it's dead. So now I'm like, okay, I still want to buy this. So now what can I do? So then I proposed to him, okay, here's what I want to do. I'd like to buy the buy the business and have an option to purchase the real estate at a later date. So we're like 4 months into negotiation, 5 months into negotiation, right? I want to buy the operating company and have the option to buy the real estate at a later date. He goes, no way, I'm not doing that. I want all the money. I'm done. I'm retiring. I want all my money now. So the deal's off for I don't know how many months, 2, 3, 4 months. Maybe a year goes by. So now it's 2025.
Yeah.
And it's, February maybe. And February this year. And he calls me and he goes, all right, I have an idea, Kevin. I go, okay, what's that? He goes, how about I sell you the operating company and you have a right to buy the real estate at a later date?
That's a great idea.
It's a great idea. So, the deal that I originally wanted, we ended up getting to, but it took a year and a half. So,
well, the seller financing portion as well.
Not the seller financing portion, but because the reason why I didn't want to buy the real estate right away is because I couldn't afford to buy the real estate in the operating company because I wanted working capital. So I wanted to be able to put that money in the opco, and as opposed to putting it on a down payment on a building. So we ended up negotiating that, and that was maybe in February, and then we closed in May.
So once you actually agreed on things moved pretty quickly.
They did.
A long part of the negotiation process was just that, the negotiating about purchase price structure. But once you guys kind of got on the same page, you were able to, I remember you closed quicker than I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah. We were supposed to close in like 30 days, and then it was like 90, but it closed. Once we agreed, it closed quickly. Even in the period once we agreed, there was still like conversations with him like, I'm not selling this to you. No on this item. So Al's background, he was an accountant, very smart guy, and he was very strict. Like, this is what I want, or else, but then he would back off. So at the end of the day, he got what he wanted, I got what I wanted, and it worked out. But legal was instrumental. Brent and his team were instrumental. Once we agreed on the structure, and then that's when legal really took over.
Yeah, make it happen.
No, and that was my mistake. I brought him in. I shouldn't say my mistake because it was still valuable. I brought him in before we even had a structure. But again, I needed them because I needed Brent to tell me, hey, Kevin, this is how I normally structure these deals, or this is what we normally negotiate, or here's what we can give, here's what we can take. from a structure legal perspective.
So did you end up buying it? Did Al get 100% cash up front and you went with bank financing?
I went all in, buddy. So I went full SBA, lean on my house, lean on my wife, lean on my dog. They get it all. But no, Hannah, and that's another thing. Like, business aside, you got to make sure that your partner is on board. So I talked to Hannah.
It doesn't
I'm like,
work if she's not.
correct. So I talked to my wife. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. I said, this is what we're gonna do. Are you on board? And if you're not, you need to tell me. And this is what our life's gonna look like for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months while I figure out how to take this thing to the next level.
Yeah.
And she was all in. So I'm really lucky to have a partner that is all in.
Hannah's the best. The good news is you didn't really have anything going on outside of the business around that time. Things a little more complicated.
Yeah. So I what you're alluding to is I bought the business. I closed on the business May 29th, and I had my first child, my son, on June 12th. So there was a lot going on. And so I bought the business. So I took maybe 3 days off to be at home with Hannah and Charlie, or maybe it was a week, 3 days to a week off, and I was right back in it because she knew what was coming, and hopefully in the short term we'll look back and be like, wow, that was stressful, but look what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
We're still in the stressful stage.
Yeah, she's a cool customer though.
Yes.
She is even keeled.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Yes.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you closed on the business. Business is now yours.
Correct.
What did the first day look like?
So, because I had gone there so many times in negotiation, so no one knew. Al kept it to himself and to Justin, who was the president at the time running the company, and their accounting manager. Those three knew, so no one else knew. So Al, like a couple weeks before the closing, had an all company meeting and told his employees what was happening. So they knew before I got there, obviously. And I get there on day one, and day one is I moved in. I didn't have a computer because he took his computer. So I had no computer. I had my cell phone, and that's about it. And a desk phone. That was from like 1980.
Nice.
And so I sit down, and Justin comes in my office, and we just start discussing, here's the plan. And Justin was phenomenal in walking me through, because in negotiations, you learn by paper, you learn by financials. And because it was sensitive, I didn't really get an opportunity to, talk to other people, right. Which, in retrospect, probably should have, but this was a sensitive sale, so I couldn't. Justin really walked me through understanding and teaching me Apollo's ways, right? So what was going on, how they do things, the customer relationships, etc. So day one, on May 28th, we're Apollo Manufacturing. On May 29th, when I buy it, we become Apollo American.
Talk about that rebrand.
So we do an immediate rebrand, which we've got a ton of positive feedback on. Because if you look at manufacturing companies, Apollo's been around. Apollo Manufacturing, our company, Apollo American now, has been around since 1989. Started by a guy named John Marusik in Willoughby, in I think 15,000 square feet. John Marusik owned it to I think 2007 when Al bought it from John, and then I bought it from Al in obviously 2025. So I'm the third owner of Apollo.
Yeah.
And this rebrand was extremely important because it showed our customers and it showed our potential customers that, okay, something's going on here. As some people are investing into this business. Again, it's only a website, but it means something. So we got a LinkedIn presence. We got some of the first things I did was LinkedIn. We redid our whole website on day one. Day one, we had a new website. We had a new logo. And we redid our whole phone system. I spent a small fortune on getting a new phone system because when you called Apollo Manufacturing, it was a automated thing that said, if you know your partner's extension, dial it now. I'm in the people business. I want a person answering the phone. Sure. So now when you call Apollo American, you get Heather, you get Lisa. It's, hey, good morning, Apollo American. How can I help you? There's a personal touch. So Justin and team have done a great job of, they're just pleasant people. I mean, we hire people. Our number one criteria is, are you pleasant? When we work with our customers, we try to be, our differentiators, we're pleasant. People deal with us because they like to work with us. We're not grumpy. We're personable. When you call us, you get us. There's no recordings. You deal with real people. So that I wanted to make sure that was the case. Justin and team did a great job before I got there, but I just took it to another level. But it was a big rebrand.
Did the American component have anything to do with the tariff conversation that was happening during the time, or the fact that you're in aerospace and defense, or was it really just part of that overall rebrand?
It was a part of the fact that I love God, I love my family, and I love my country. So I mean, I love the United States. I mean, I have
putting your fingerprints on the
correct.
business.
But I think too, we're an aerospace and defense manufacturer. It's American made. We have American citizens making American parts that are going on American, land, air, and sea that are defending us. So I think it's strong. It resembles who we are. And, our company, we have employees at our company that are the American dream. I have a ton of people that came from, Eastern Europe, Croatia, Bosnia, that became U.S. citizens that have been with this company since 1989, 1990, 1991, and they're still with us. And they're the hardest working people that I know. And it's, they're proud of what they've built. I tell them, when I bought the company, I told them this. Guys, I've worked at Apollo for one day. You guys have been here since 1989. This is your company. It's not my company yet. I own it, but I have to earn your guys' respect. So I have ideas. I have ways I think we can improve stuff, but you guys know this business better than I do. And you guys need to tell me, hey, Kevin, we've tried this before. Hold on. Or, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go forward with that. And that was all in the first week. So I really wanted to. And again, people are hesitant. And I don't blame them. You got a new owner. What's this guy gonna?
Natural response.
This guy's 30. He's 32. He looks like he's 16. So, so I'm in the back of my. I mean, I'm boisterous. I mean, I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to make a decision. And I think they respected the fact that I'm not afraid to make a bold decision if I have to. But they were hesitant. I'm a young guy. They don't know anything about me. I don't know anything about them. So I really spent the first 2 months figuring out who are the people that are the change makers, who are the people that have kept this company afloat.
Yeah. And
I very quickly identified them. Justin was obviously one of them, and then a guy named Suad Hugo, who is our plant manager, who's been there since 1989.
Wonderful.
He survived 3 owners. I'm the third, so hopefully he survives me.
Third time's the charm.
But he is pivotal. I mean, the guy he's smart, he's a decision maker, and he's a leader. And he's well respected in our industry.
Sure.
And I knew immediately that this is a guy that I need to understand, and I need to figure out if I can work with this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not in the business of finding someone that is useful to me and just getting close to them because I can use them. Right? That's not what I wanted to do. My goal is to find someone that can be my partner in growing this business.
Yeah.
So Suad was one of those guys. Justin was one of those guys. We have a wonderful woman named Milka who runs our finishing and deburring department. She was one of those people. My quality manager was another one. And then Lisa Weber, who's our accounting manager, our office manager.
She's great.
Lisa's fantastic. But those are the people that I knew, okay, this is the team that I want. And then there was people there that I identified quickly and some not so quickly that, okay, I can't see this person being part of our team. And because they didn't fit my mindset, which was, I always tell the guys, do your job and parts out the door. If you do your job and we get parts out the door, everyone's going to be better off. And we had people there that didn't subscribe to that, and we had to deal with that. But identifying the people, it took 3 or 4 months. Identifying the people that you want as your partners is the number one thing that I was trying to do, and I did it. And it was important to get them on my team and have them to earn their respect. I don't want them to just take my opinion because I own the company. I need them to trust me and respect me, and that's still a process. That's ongoing. But I think I've done a few things that has put me in a better position to earn their respect.
It's a good lesson that I think a lot of people can carry forward. Focusing on the people post-acquisition, it seems like such a daunting task, but when you break it down the way that you just broke it down, almost compartmentalizing into that partnership mentality that you were talking about, I think can be really beneficial if you categorize people. This is somebody that I can partner with in growing this company. You talked during the the due diligence process about different opportunities that you saw within the business, specifically on the sales side. How have you gone about implementing some of those strategies that you saw as such a good fit for Apollo American?
Sure. So what we did was, we had our core customers, and we reached out to our core customers, letting them know that there was a leadership change. You have to let them know that. And a few of them got really scared that it was private equity. So in our letter to our customers and our phone calls to our customers, we invited them to come visit us. We offered to go visit them, and we said, we're not private equity. We're an individual owner who wants to own this business for the foreseeable future. It's going to be a lifestyle business. There's no plan to flip it. We're a long-term hold. And that put a lot of them at ease. So that was step one, dealing with the current customer base. In terms of the sales growth, it was finding like customers that we currently weren't doing business with and reaching out to them. Luckily, as I mentioned earlier, I had relationships with people in the aerospace and defense world that I personally knew, whether they're family friends, whether they're business acquaintances, whether they're just friends, that I can reach out to. I mean, you've even introduced me to people that have led to, potential, relationships. But we've done it through picking up the phone, through visiting people in person, and through a great relationship with our sales sales rep firm with Bill Westover. I mean, he's pivotal to introducing us to new relationships in his team, because they do that for a living, right? So I rely on my relationships to help grow this business. Bill has his relationships that he's bringing in, and we're hitting it from both ends. And Bill and I work very well together. So he'll bring me in on the relationships that he has. I'll bring him in on the relationships I have, and it's worked out really well. Really well.
Were there no capacity issues? Because obviously the first place my mind goes is if you ramp up sales on a business that is already operating, are you going to run into bottlenecks?
Great question. Great question. So I'll back up to answer that. So Apollo American's been around since 1989. We have around 35 employees. It fluctuates here and there. 2 shifts. So our first shift is kind of our main shift, and our second shift is just a production shift where we're running the machines that first shift had started. It's just continuous, movement.
Gotcha.
We are really fortunate, and I discussed this when I was buying the business. We have a ton of capacity, which is unique in the industry. Because right now, aerospace and defense, people are swamped. But Justin and Suad have done a phenomenal job of saying no to a lot, right? So we want to grow. We think we can double the size of our business with the relationships that we have in the next 3 to 5 years. But we want to do it, Jordan, responsibly and strategically. The hockey stick sounds great until it's not, right?
Well, because you can't have, especially in your industry, you can't afford to have quality soccer.
You can't, and you can't afford to overcommit. So Suad and Justin have done a great job of looking at, quotes, RFQs, and saying, you know what, this doesn't fit the part families that we're doing, or this doesn't fit our employee skill set, or this doesn't fit our, what we want to look at from a quality perspective. We're really, really fortunate as a company, Apollo American, to be in a position where we can pick and choose what we want to work on. We don't have to say yes to everything. There are companies out there that say, yes, gimme, yes, yes, yes. We don't want that. We can be picky. We can pick and choose what we want, and our quality of service doesn't go down. Our quality issues don't go down. Our overcapacity is not an issue. We have a ton of capacity. So our first shift, we're probably running at 70% by design. So room for growth. And our second shift is, basically unlimited.
So are you looking to hire at all?
I probably hired 10 new employees in 4 months. So we've hired a lot of new machinists. We just hired a new purchasing manager, Tanya McDonald. We're very excited about her. She comes with a bunch of industry experience. She used to work in the production facility. She has a great story. We're excited to have her. But it's about assembling the right team to make sure that we meet our growth goals.
One of the things that you mentioned that you identified Apollo being a good potential candidate to acquire. What is the website? And the website can be a microcosm for, hey, potentially there's other things that haven't been invested in this business. Post-acquisition, did you come across any CapEx needs that were neglected previously that ended up being a kind of a nasty surprise?
So, good question. I literally think I found the perfect company because Justin and Suad have done a great job of CapEx. We have a ton of new equipment. I mean, every year they
So
bought.
it really was just the website.
I'm telling you, it was a perfect storm, and I benefited immensely from it. But they have a bunch of new equipment there. And there's a ton of great assets in the company. Justin's bought, one or two new lathes every year, one or two new mills every year. We've updated our quality equipment every year. The investment is there, but now it's time to take the investment to the next level. So, it was a perfect storm. I mean, they've done a great job. I mean, they really have. They didn't know how to branch out from their current customers, which is fine. It wasn't their skill set. They were good at what they did. And it's my job to grow the business. And granted, I couldn't do it without the Justins of the
Sure,
world,
but that's why
without the
that's why
Suez
you
of the world.
purchased it, right? Like
Correct.
it's not you didn't, I guess, luck into a situation. Part of your search criteria, and part of the search criteria that a lot of acquirers have, is there needs to be a really sound operational team already in place. That's not unique. It's just hard to find, and
Yes.
you've found a good one. Taking it to the next level, you mentioned one of the metrics or goals that you have is to double sales over the course of the next 3 and 5 years. Any other KPIs or goals that you have written down that you're going to use as your North Star metrics?
Sure. So, people are very important. So, one of our metrics is bringing people on and keeping them, right? In manufacturing, a lot, what you'll have is people will come on for 3, 4, 5 months, and then they move on to the next thing.
It's a bit expensive.
Correct. It's always, I don't want to have to go out and look for new people. It's always to promote or train from within, people that have been there. But in the event I brought 10 new people in, 10 new people in, we have to find a way to keep them. So we're really focusing on redoing our production strategy to more of a sell strategy. So where we break certain machines down and have a group of people manage those machines, and you have people over in the mill and the lathe, and you break up deburring and quality, and we have little companies within companies. Because let's be honest, people don't show up to Apollo American and say, "How can I make Kevin Joseph money today? How can I make Apollo American money?"
Wouldn't that be nice?
That's not what their prerogative is. I don't blame them. So I want our employees to approach every day as they're their own little business owner. Hey, I'm responsible for these 4 machines. How can I increase the output of these 4 machines every day I'm here? How can I make it better? How can I make it more efficient? How can I come up with a better idea? And when that employee does that, we go back to my goal. He's getting parts out the door. She's getting parts out the door. And everyone will do better. So I want each employee to approach every day as it's their little business, and they're responsible for making those machines money, and then therefore themselves money. So that's the kind of the goal I take.
Dare I say you're building company culture?
There you go.
I don't, depending on when this is released, I had another guest on this season, David Haynes, NPL Medical, Home Medical. And we talked about company culture, and part of the cool thing in his management operating system is just what you talked about, empowering employees, giving them metrics to work toward. Of course, he's not going to put one of your metrics is to improve David Haynes' bottom line. It's to, whether it's throughput or just overall production numbers, different metrics that they can work toward. It makes people feel the value in their work, and that is company culture, believe it or not. It's not, you're not a pizza in the break room sort of guy, but that is true company culture. Never thought I'd see the day, Kevin.
I actually am a pizza in the break room. So we actually implemented some town halls where we are every month. So in the past, this business and a lot of manufacturing companies are C-suite and everybody else. I hate that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come to our office and you're trying to find me, the last place you want to look is my office, because I'm not going to be there. I'm on the floor. I'll help run a machine. I mean, granted, I know. I'll help run a machine. I'll help quality. I'll do whatever. I want to be on the ground, because I can't figure out what's wrong or what needs to improve if I'm not on the ground talking with people and hearing pain points and hearing success stories. So I try to be all over the place, management by walking around. I try to do that all the time. And it's important, right? Because I won't know what's going on by just sitting at my desk. So my biggest challenges every day as owner, president, CEO is managing, obviously, inter-office relationships. I mean, you have to do that. There's always personalities to manage. Growing the business, and then also being management by walking around, boots on the floor. So there's a fine line where I'm on the ground, but I also need to be growing and selling and doing things like that. So that's kind of where my responsibilities are juggled, every day.
So you mentioned earlier that you have made some mistakes, and we learn a lot from our mistakes. I guess 2 different periods here. I know it hasn't been a super long time, but anything you learned during the actual due diligence, acquisition, deal-making process, and then now post, once the closing actually happened, any mistakes that you made that you learned from during that ownership period?
Sure. So, I just smile because I made so many mistakes. I mean, it's like, I told you, like my dad said, it's like he's forgotten more than I've even learned. So, I tell everybody this. I get so excited when people are like, I think I'm going to buy a company. I think I'm going to buy a manufacturing company. And I always tell them, you will have no idea what you're doing. Like literally. And, I'm going to get controversial again. So I came from a world where I was an advisor, right? I again, finance is different. I'm talking about, I was advising people on real estate stuff. You have consultants, you have business brokers, you have bankers. I thought I knew everything. Bankers think they know everything. I fell into this category. I bought this company. It took me 2 weeks to figure out I know absolutely nothing. And I knew absolutely nothing. I mean, again, this is controversial. I value the relationship with my bank. They do a great job. I know there's a lot of banks out there that do a great job. Bankers have never run a company. Bankers, they finance the deal. And I'm convinced half of the bankers get into a room and say, how do we not do this deal? And that's part of the reason why I went with Westfield. I mean, they were a smaller community bank, and they're more entrepreneurial. I like that. But I didn't realize, the accountants, the business brokers, the bankers, all these people giving us advice. I was one of them. We don't know what we're talking about. The people that have run the company, that have run the business, they know what they're talking about. They know what it's like to what it's like to have the stress of meeting payroll. They know what it's like to deal with, this machine's down. I got to order another one, or I got to get this fixed. I mean, it's the day-to-day tasks that a business owner does that nobody else knows except the business owner. And you can't read a book and you can't watch a YouTube video to learn these things. You just got to do it. And boy, did I get thrown into the fire. And there's still stuff I don't know how to do, but I'm learning. And I guess I was naive. I mean, I was an advisor, but I was naive. I thought I knew, and I only could imagine when I was when I was advising some of these business owners, like how to, from an operational perspective, I could only imagine what they were thinking. Like, what is this kid talking about? He's not in my seat. And granted, I know the whole, story of, would you only want a doctor who had cancer to treat you for cancer? Well, that's not the case. But this is
super relevant.
Yes, but this is, I didn't know what I didn't know, and the only way I was going to do it was get thrown into the fire, and I'm learning as I go.
I'll tell you what, one of the things that's given me a lot of credibility in working with business owners is we are business owners here. We're an independently owned firm, and I'll tell you, we've got all the licenses and alphabet soup after our names and everything like that. But the fact that we have to meet payroll and we have to work with our bankers and our CPAs and everything, and we have people to manage and we have facilities to manage, that's one of the most beneficial experiences that I bring to the table in working with business owners and their professional teams. So no, finance isn't different. There's plenty of people out there who sit in my seat who don't necessarily have that business ownership mindset because there's not a business to own.
Correct.
Nobody's fault. It's just a reality.
It's a reality. And that's why it's important to pick advisors that are owners, right? You don't want to deal with advisors that are not owners because they can't be put in your shoes, right? They don't know what I need done because they're just corporate America and they can't see what I see. Yeah. But again, I to recap that conversation, I didn't know what I didn't know until I was thrown into the fire. So those were kind of the risks, even in the deal process. You asked me what mistakes I made. I didn't know the mistakes I made until I made them, until I bought the business. And looking back, I went way too hard on legal. I needed to make it more of a personal handshake type transaction with the seller because he was older and was used to that kind of thing. Or maybe that's an industry thing. Things seem a lot easier in school textbooks and online videos. It's not easy. It's ugly. But ugly is good because ugly means there's opportunity. And if this was neat and pretty, one, I couldn't afford it. And two, it probably wouldn't be for sale.
Sure.
So
and also you're selling yourself short a little bit. Yes, everybody makes mistakes, and I'm sure you made your fair share, but you avoided any detrimental mistakes. You you have a lot of common sense, which I think is lost on a lot of people. You weren't going to put yourself in a situation where you were deciding on something that was going to be a binary outcome. Either the business fails or it doesn't. Like you were smart about bringing people in and thinking through this from a first principles.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I'm dumb about a lot of things, but I have some common sense. But I think it was my people, my relationship style, my people aspect, how I want to be with people, and I identified that Justin and Suad were key to my success, and I shouldn't say my success, the success of Apollo, because I told Al when I was buying the company, the last thing that I want to do is buy the company and fail. Again, not that I was scared of failure, but there was 35 employees there. It's really different when it's yourself or you own your own business. I have people that I have to make sure that they get a paycheck and they can go home and feed their families. And that's on me. And I wanted teammates to share that misery with me. And it was Suad. Yeah, and it was Suad and it was Justin and Lisa and Milka, and they knew the deal, and they knew I'm up front. I mean, I sit every morning we have production meetings and with our managers, 9:30 in the morning, maybe the last 30, 40 minutes. And we sit at the table, and early on I go, guys, listen. When I'm, in my office talking to customers, I'm the owner of the company. When I'm sitting at this table with the managers, I'm a manager. Treat me as a manager. Don't tell me, hey, Kevin, that's a great idea, but we already tried it. It didn't work. Or, hey, Kevin, I disagree with you. I tell the guys, whenever I say, guys, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And there'll be like, sometimes there'll be blank stares. I'll be like, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm an idiot. Because I've done a lot of stupid things. I'm relying on you guys to tell me if this is stupid. And I'll tell you if you have a stupid idea. But we all got to be when we're at the table, we're all on the same level. I'm not your boss. You're not my boss. We're all on the same level. We are all working towards the same goal of getting parts out the door. And that doesn't happen overnight. So this culture change, the flow of a lot of things that we do is changing. There is short-term pain, but there will be long-term gain. And it's giving people, my biggest thing I wanted to do was give Justin and give Suad more power, more decision-making power. So as it relates to production, Suad, our plant manager, I have given him unilateral decision-making on production. He can hire who he wants. He can fire who he wants. He can change processes. It wasn't that way before. So I made it that way. Justin, same way. Justin is our chief operating officer. He's responsible for managing current customer relationships. He's responsible for quoting. He's responsible with input on production. These guys have responsibility and ownership, and I want to empower them to do that. I am here to be a sounding board, and if they come up with an idea that I don't like, I'll tell them. And if they're adamant about it, they can tell me that they're adamant about doing it, and we'll do it. And it's not Suad's fault if it fails. It's not Justin's fault if it fails. It's all of our fault because we're all on the same team. So there's no more, I'm production. This is only what I do. Or I'm office. This is what I do. Or I'm quality. This is what I do. It's, as Jack Nicklaus would say, grab a gun and man a post. I mean, we're all on the same team.
So you talked about how this is a long-term hold for you. You're going to grow the business. But give us a sense of what your big picture long-term plan is.
So my big picture long-term plan is to grow this business. I have a number in mind that I don't want to share that I can do out of that facility. So I do not want to sell Apollo American for the next 50, 60 years. I want to work there until I'm 80 years old. And who knows, maybe my son will run it. But I don't want to sell it. I want it to be a lifestyle business.
Explain what that means.
So a lifestyle business, sometimes you'll get guys that'll come in, not even private equity, but private equity is a good example. They'll come in, they'll see opportunities to, turn the business around, make it more profitable, and their hold period might be 5 to 7 years.
Financial buyer.
Correct, a financial buyer, and they'll flip it and sell it. That's horrible for the employees. It's horrible for the current customer base because there's no continuity of service. When I say lifestyle business, I want to build not only a culture within our company, which is what we're doing, but within our community. Like, I love the idea of, Apollo American. That's, Kevin Joseph runs that with Suad Hugo and Justin Sandy, and they've owned it for 50 years, and they've been a staple in the Cleveland, in Cleveland market and throughout the country, really. And our customers know us. They're not private equity. They're going to take care of us when they call. When they call, we answer the phone. They don't need 5,000 different people to approve a decision. There's one guy that needs to make a decision if it needs to go quickly. So I want my family to be involved. I want my friends to be involved. I want to build new friends with our employees. So I really want this to be a lifestyle business for me and everyone that I'm surrounded with, including my employees, my friends, my family. And you don't get that if you're a financial buyer. It's a 5, 6, 7 year flip. I look at a place like this. You guys have been around a while. I mean, it's a lifestyle. I look at a place that my dad's at. It's a lifestyle. I look at my uncle's business. It's a lifestyle. All I know is lifestyle, relationship, friend building. That's what I want to do. And being part of the community is extremely important. So my goal is to get this company to X amount, max out my current facility, and then I'll buy the building next to me, or I'll buy a building down the street, or I'll go acquire another business and roll it into Apollo. Apollo American will always be. Apollo American will not be sold and rolled into something else. Apollo American will always be. Our customers will always deal with me until I die or until I retire. They'll always deal with Justin until he retires. They'll always deal with Suad until he retires. This is the team we've built, and we tell that. That's a differentiator for us. I go, look at us. I go, I'm 33 years old now. I go, every dollar I'm making is going back into this business. I'm not the 72, 73-year-old business owner that's taking things out and funding the end of my career.
Yeah.
I'm investing back. Mr. Customer, hey, you need us to make, X amount of parts and you want us to dedicate them a cell that requires us to buying 4 machines? I'll do it. You tell me. If it makes sense for our employees, if it makes sense for our business, we will invest back in the business for you.
Yeah, symbiotic relationship with all
Correct.
the stakeholders involved.
Correct. But we're going to do it responsibly. We don't just say yes and hope for the best. We say yes and here's our plan. Or we say no and here's why we can't do it. So
the last question I've been asking everybody, because I think it's important because I can't cover everything, is what didn't I ask about that you think is important for people to know? Whether it's about you, whether it's about the business, whether it's about this whole process.
So, Jordan, you are such a good interviewer that I feel like you've asked all the questions.
Everybody already knows that. It's not something.
By the way, the in-person is the way to go.
This is awesome.
You should never do online again.
Fun.
This is fantastic. It's more personal. You've asked, I think, everything that would be asked. The only thing I would say is in podcasts like these, and even advice that you give to your clients, I am not, I've said this a bunch of times today and I'll reiterate it. I am not the smartest guy in the room. I do have common sense, but I'm not the smartest guy in the room. What I'm really good at is picking people. So when I don't know something, I'll be the first to admit I don't know it. And I have to find someone that does and get them on my team. And, sometimes we spend too much time on, the legal process. The business structure process. The finance process. The bank process. When none of that matters unless you have the right people. So I think the questions that we should all start with on a business acquisition front is not how much is the company, not, is it operationally sound? Is it this? Is it that? The question should be, is the team there? Or am I bringing the team there? And I was lucky that the team was there. That's step one. The team's there. Step two is I have to earn their respect. So I think we should have more podcasts and more conversations about, one, how do you identify the team? And two, maybe even more importantly, how do you earn the respect of the team? Because again, I'm a 33-year-old guy that looks like I'm 16. I don't blame someone for being like, this kid doesn't know shit, right? I mean, he doesn't know anything. But once you start to talk to me, you understand my leadership style. You understand that I'm willing to go through a wall for you. If we're all on the same team, it works. So earning my employees' respect was more important to me than earning the respect of my customers, of my bank, of my advisors. I have to earn the respect of my employees. And it's been 5 months, 5.5 months. And I'm still doing it every day. And I think I've done it. I think I've made strides.
It doesn't stop, right?
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And we're gonna get in fights. We're gonna get in disagreements. We're gonna share in successes. We're gonna, have fun new ways of doing things and figuring out how to do them together. But it's a process, and we have to build their trust and respect. And that's where I think more people need to spend their time, because that's what's going to ultimately lead, I think, to success in the end of the day, and or failure.
That's awesome. Well, actually, the last question I had is, are you going to play golf with me this summer? Ever since you bought this company, you stopped?
So, well, yeah, I already have your respect. I don't need to earn it. No, I'm hoping to get, again, I hate to prolong this, but you remind me of something else. You talk about the ups and downs of this business. I'm in it now, and I have never had more fun going to work. Like I'll be on the golf course on a weekend when I can get away, and rare. I think I golf like 2 times.
I know, it's crazy.
It's kind of stinks, but it is what it is. I'm on the golf course and I'm thinking about, I wish I was at work. I mean, that's how much I love going to Apollo American. I mean, the people, the ideas, the customers that we have, the cool stuff that we're working on that's literally going on things that help us defend, our country. It's just fun. It's fun to be there. It's fun to build a culture. And granted, there are growing pains, but golf is awesome. But right now, for me, growing this business, being with my young son and my wife is my priority. So that's where I'm at.
All right. Well, way to make me look like a bad guy. Kevin Joseph, Apollo American, really appreciate you taking the time. This was a blast, and maybe you'll be the first back-to-back guest.
That'd be awesome. Thanks for having me, man. I love what you do for the Cleveland business community. I mean, it's awesome, and hopefully there are many more of these podcasts.
Thanks so much.
Price Discovery Money and Mindset is brought to you by Wernick Wealth Managers and Chagrin Valley Business Strategies. Opinions expressed by Jordan and guests are their own and do not represent investment advice, solicitation, or the like. For more information and resources referenced in this episode, be sure to check out the show notes. Thank you and see you next time.